Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the US dollar is no longer the most powerful currency in the world. Sounds impossible, right? Well, the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are making moves that could change the global financial system forever. These countries are growing stronger, and they're tired of the dollar controlling everything. They want a new system, and they're not just talking about it, they're taking action. In this video, we'll count down the top 10 reasons why the BRICS nations are challenging the US dollar right now. By the end, you'll see why this could be one of the biggest financial shifts in modern history. Let's get started. The 10th BRICS controls a huge part of the global economy. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are some of the largest economies in the world. Together, they account for about 31.5% of the global GDP, which is more than what the G7 countries produce. China and India, in particular, have some of the fastest-growing economies in the world. Meanwhile, Brazil and Russia are key players in global commodities. Russia is one of the largest energy producers, exporting vast amounts of oil and gas. Brazil is a major supplier of agricultural products like soybeans and coffee. South Africa, on the other hand, holds vast mineral reserves, including gold and platinum. With such economic strength, BRICS nations don't want to depend on a currency controlled by the US. They believe that the dollar gives America too much financial control, allowing it to influence other economies through sanctions and policies. Instead, BRICS is working on reducing reliance on the dollar by strengthening trade among themselves, increasing reserves in other currencies, and even discussing the idea of launching a BRICS-based global currency. This could reshape global trade and shift financial power away from the West. 9 US sanctions have pushed BRICS toward independence. The US dollar is not just a currency, it's also a tool of political influence. The American financial system has been used to impose sanctions on countries that go against US foreign policy. Russia is the most recent example. After its invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the US and its allies froze over $300 billion of Russian assets and blocked Russian banks from using the SWIFT international payment system. This was a wake-up call for other countries that rely on the dollar. Many BRICS nations fear that they could be next. If a country disagrees with the US, it risks losing access to the dollar-based financial system. This is why BRICS is working to reduce their dependence on the dollar. They want to be able to trade and store wealth in a way that is not controlled by the US financial system. Russia and China have already started conducting trade in their own currencies, and India is also exploring trade in rupees instead of dollars. The goal is simple: to protect their economies from US political and financial control. 8 BRICS is creating a new payment system. One of the biggest reasons the US dollar dominates the world is because of SWIFT, the global banking system that processes most international transactions. Almost every country depends on SWIFT to send money across borders. However, SWIFT is controlled by Western financial institutions, which means that the US and its allies can cut off access to any country they choose. This is exactly what happened to Russia after the Ukraine conflict. BRICS nations don't want to be vulnerable to such restrictions. That's why they are creating their own alternatives to SWIFT. Russia launched SPFS system for transfer of financial messages as an internal payment network, which now connects some foreign banks as well. China developed CIPS, cross-border interbank payment system, which allows international transactions using the Chinese yuan. Now, BRICS is discussing a joint payment system that would allow members to trade directly in their own currencies without using the US dollar or SWIFT. If successful, this system could make it easier for countries around the world to do business without relying on American-controlled financial networks. 7. China and India are leading the de-dollarization movement. China and India, the 2 largest economies in BRICS, are making serious moves to move away from the dollar. China has already signed agreements with Russia, Brazil, and several other countries to trade in their own currencies instead of the dollar. China is also pushing the yuan as a global currency by signing deals with Middle Eastern countries to buy oil without using dollars. India, on the other hand, is experimenting with trade in rupees instead of dollars. It has made agreements with Russia and some Middle Eastern countries to accept payments in its own currency. As more countries follow their lead, the dollar's global dominance could start to weaken. 6th BRICS wants a gold-backed currency. The US dollar used to be backed by gold, but in 1971, that changed. Since then, the dollar's value has been based on trust in the U.S. economy. However, BRICS is now considering launching a currency backed by gold or other commodities. Russia and China have been buying massive amounts of gold in recent years. If BRICS creates a new currency backed by gold, it would be a serious challenge to the dollar. A gold-backed currency would be more stable and attractive to countries that don't want to rely on the U.S. financial system. 5. Countries outside BRICS are joining the movement. BRICS started with 5 nations, but now many other countries want to join. Saudi Arabia, Iran, Argentina, the UAE, and even Egypt have expressed interest in becoming part of BRICS. This would make the group even more powerful. Saudi Arabia is especially important because it plays a huge role in global oil markets. If Saudi Arabia starts selling oil in currencies other than the dollar, it could shake the foundation of the petrodollar system that has kept the dollar strong for decades. 4. The U.S. national debt is weakening confidence in the dollar. The U.S. national debt is now over $34 trillion, and it keeps growing. Many countries worry that this debt will eventually weaken the dollar. Printing more money to cover debts can lead to inflation, which reduces the value of the dollar over time. BRICS nations see this as a warning sign. They don't want their economies to be tied to a currency that could lose value due to U.S. financial problems. This is another reason why they are looking for alternatives. 3. The rise of digital currencies and blockchain technology. BRICS nations are also exploring digital currencies to reduce their dependence on the dollar. China has already launched its own digital yuan, which is being tested in international trade. Russia is working on a digital ruble, and India is developing its own central bank digital currency. By using digital currencies and blockchain technology, BRICS countries could bypass traditional banking systems and trade directly with each other. This would make the dollar less necessary in global transactions. 2 BRICS countries are trading more in their own currencies. Trade between BRICS nations is growing fast, and they are doing more of it in their own currencies. Russia and China now trade in rubles and yuan. Brazil and China have a deal to trade in their own currencies instead of dollars. India and Russia are doing the same. The more these countries trade in their own currencies, the less they need the dollar. If this trend continues, it could reduce global demand for the dollar and shift power away from the U.S. financial system. 1. The BRICS summit could bring big changes. The BRICS nations hold regular summits to discuss their economic strategies. The 2024 BRICS summit is expected to bring major announcements about their plans for a new currency, trade agreements, and financial independence from the dollar. There is even speculation that they might introduce a new global currency backed by a mix of gold and commodities. If that happens, it could be the biggest challenge to the dollar in modern history. The world is watching closely, and the U.S. is aware of the shift happening right now. The BRICS nations are making serious moves to challenge the U.S. dollar, and the impact could be massive. If they succeed, the global financial system will never be the same again. The dollar has been the world's most powerful currency for decades, but nothing lasts forever. What do you think? Will BRICS change the world economy, or will the dollar remain on top? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more updates on global finance. See you in the next one.